Morning, students. So in the last class we studied about the revival of the Russian economy, also the shock therapy, the consequences of the shock therapy, and then the revival of the Russian economy, right? Okay, so in today's class we'll discuss about the tensions and the conflicts that were there. So most of the former Soviet republics, they were prone to conflicts. Many had civil wars and insurgencies. So conflicts you must be aware about. Of course, you must know that as well. What is an insurgency? An insurgency is an active revolt or an uprising, okay, against the government. When you refuse to accept the government's power, you rise up actually in an insurgency, right? Then civil war. What is a civil war? It's a war between organized groups within the same state or the country. Okay, it's a high intensity conflict, often involving sustained regular armed force, large or on a very large scale. It may result in large number of casualties also. Okay, so there are various kinds of civil wars as well, which we don't have to study over here. Let's just stick to what is a civil war, what is an insurgency, and conflicts you are aware about. Okay, so where did this actually happen? It happened in the former Soviet republics, amongst which in Russia, two important republics, Chechnya and Dagestan, they had violent secessionist movement. To secede is a secessionist movement. Okay, when you want to secede means to basically you are leaving, you are withdrawing from the federation, from the alliance that you have signed. Okay, that leads to secessionist movement, that is referred to as to secede, withdrawing from the alliance formally, right? So Moscow here, whatever method Moscow applied to deal with these Chechen rebels and indiscriminate military bombings, it led to many human rights violations, but it failed to deter to the aspirations for independence. Okay, next, Tajikistan. Now, if you want to know how Moscow dealt with the Chechen rebels, it probably did not went for negotiating. Okay, it directly gave the ultimatum to stop those movements, and there were very much violent and strict method that Moscow probably applied with Chechnya and Dagestan. Okay, now Tajikistan. What happened in Tajikistan? In parts of Central Asia, you have Tajikistan that witnessed a civil war which went on for 10 years. Now, in parts of Tajikistan, there were regional groups that had wars. And these regional groups from Garm and Gorno-Badakhshan regions of Tajikistan, they rose up against the newly formed government of President Rahman Naibi, okay, which was dominated by people from Kujan and Kulob regions. Okay, so here you see there are two opposing groups. Okay, it is because of them that the civil war took place. They may have different ideologies, they may have different agendas, which in some or the other way is not suiting to the other region groups. Okay, that is why it resulted in the civil war that went on for 10 years till 2001. Okay, next, in Azerbaijan province, in Azerbaijan's province of Nagorno and Karabakh, here the local Armenians, they wanted to secede and they wanted to join Armenia. Now, the wars of the province, especially this Nagorno and Karabakh conflict, it's a territorial and ethnic conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Okay, and this is the region. Okay, so between Armenia and Azerbaijan over the disputed region of Nagorno and Karabakh. Okay, and there were other districts as well. It is all, this conflict is also known as Artsak. Okay, the conflict has its origins in the early 20th century. Okay, under the Soviet Union, Joseph Stalin, he decided to make Nagorno and Karabakh region an autonomous oblast of Soviet Azerbaijan. What is autonomous oblast? Autonomous Oblast of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics were the administrative units created for a number of smaller nations which were given autonomy within the 15 republics of USSR. Students, if you remember the 15 republics of USSR, we discussed that among those 15 republics, Russia was very important, due to which others felt alienated. Okay, so this is that autonomous oblast of Soviet Azerbaijan, where under Soviet Union, Joseph Stalin, he decided to make Nagorno and Karabakh the autonomous oblast. Okay, now the present conflict began in 1988, that one which we are discussing about, when Karabakh, these Armenians, they demanded that Karabakh be transferred from Soviet Azerbaijan to Soviet Armenia. Okay, and that conflict escalated into a full-scale war in the early 1990s. Okay, next, the Central Asian republics, they were the areas with vast hydrocarbon resources. The fossil fuels, hydrocarbon resources are your fossil fuels, oil, natural gas, all these, which have brought them economic benefit, right? And Central Asia became a zone of competition from between outside powers and the oil companies. The region is next to Russia, China, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and also it is close to West Asia. West Asia, students, your parts of Iraq, Iran, Jordan, and all these, right? Now, these tensions and conflicts that were there in these regions, it made life difficult for its citizens. Okay, and then I am introducing you to Central Asian importance. Why was Central Asia becoming important? Why it became a zone of competition between the outside powers and the oil companies? Naturally, it will be because it was becoming rich in the oil, or let's say hydrocarbons, right? And then you see the important powers are fighting for it. You see US. What happened? After 9/11, the attack on World Trade Center on 11 September 2001. So 9/11, the US wanted to establish military base in these areas, and it paid the government of all the Central Asian states to hire the bases and to allow the airplanes to fly over their territory. During the wars with Afghanistan, during the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. Then Russia perceives these states as its near abroad, and believes that they should be under Russian influence. Then you see China also having an interest here. Why? Because of the oil resources. So all the important powers they started taking interest in the Central Asian parts, right? Because of the oil resources. And then again you come to the Eastern European side, where you see the split of Czechoslovakia. Czechoslovakia splits peacefully into two parts, into Zets and the Slovaks, forming independent countries. Right, but the most important conflict that was there, that took place, was in the Balkans Republic of Yugoslavia. What happened in the Balkan Republic of Yugoslavia? After 1991, it broke apart with several provinces like Croatia, Slovenia, Bosnia, and Herzegovina declaring independence. What was a problem there? Ethnic Serbs, they opposed this independence thing, right? And there was a massacre of the non-Serb Bosnians. Finally, who will intervene and the matter will settle, students? Naturally, NATO. So it was with the intervention of NATO and the bombing of Yugoslavia that further followed the inter-ethnic civil war. Basically, this is referred to as the Kosovo conflict, students. Okay, in which the ethnic Albanians, they opposed the ethnic Serbs and the government of Yugoslavia in Kosovo. The conflict gained widespread international attention and it was resolved with the intervention of NATO. Okay, basically in 1989, if you want to go into further details, then the leader of ethnic Albanian, that is Ibrahim probably, in the Serbian province of Kosovo, he initiated a policy of non-violent protest against the province constitutional autonomy, the then president. Okay, which was further the members of Serbian minority had long objected the fact that Muslim Albanians were in the geographical control of an area that held sacred to the Serbs. Okay, so naturally the tensions increased between the two groups. The international community's refusal to address the issue gave them more support, and that argued that their demands could not be secured. And all these reasons, it actually piled up into one and the conflict started. Okay, so finally, with the intervention of NATO and the bombing of Yugoslavia, it brought to an end but it also followed the interethnic civil war. Okay, that is all about the tensions and the conflicts. Now students, those who want a detail of it, how it started, when it started, what was the reason, who won, what happened, all these details you can find it on your own level. That is for your knowledge as per your syllabus. This is all that you have to study. Whatever detail was required, I've given you. Okay, now let's proceed to India and post-communist country. What was the relation with India? What was the relation of India with other post-communist countries? Now, India is very smart in this, students. India has maintained good relations with all the post-communist countries, especially Russia. Now, India's relations with Russia are an important aspect of India's foreign policy. Indo-Russian relations are embedded in great history of trust and common interest. What is that trust and common interest? Basically, you will come to know when we will discuss about the benefits of India from Russia and Russian benefits from India. Well, if you talk about the history of trust and common interest, you see Indian heroes ranging from Raj Kapoor to Amitabh Bachchan. They are household names in Russia. Russia and India also has a connection of entertainment industry with good Hindi songs being quite popular in the parts of Russia. Now, Russia and India share a vision of a multipolar world order. Now, why a multipolar world order and what is a multipolar world? See, Russia and India shares a vision of multipolar world. By multipolar world, it means coexistence of several powers. Students, you all have studied about bipolar world, where we know that the world was having two superpowers, US and USSR. Both had a fight and finally emerged one superpower, that is US. We lived in a unipolar world, right? Now we have now Russia and India shares a vision of a multipolar world, which means there is a coexistence of several powers in the international system, right? All of them will look forward to the collective security, where an attack on any country is regarded as a threat to all the countries. And that requires a collective response in order to check that country which is attacking. Okay? Next, greater regionalism, connectedness factor, right? Negotiated settlements of international conflicts, not violent settlements, rather negotiated settlements. independent foreign policy, decision making through the bodies like UN, that should also be strengthened, democratized, empowered. Okay, now there are more than 80 bilateral agreements which have been signed between India and Russia as part of Indo-Russian Strategic Agreement of 2001. Okay, bilateral agreements means the one that interests both the sides, that affects both sides, that is India and Russia. Okay, now how is India benefiting Russia and how is Russia benefiting India? Now, India stands to benefit from Russia on matters like Kashmir, energy supplies we discussed. India is actually, I mean, Russia is actually benefiting India on matters like Kashmir even today. Okay, energy supplies, issues of terrorism, access to Central Asia. We have seen how Central Asia is important. Okay, why has it grown its importance? Right now, Russia stands to benefit from India because India is the second largest arms market for Russia. Indian military gets most of its hardware from Russia, and Russia is important for India's nuclear energy plans. Now, if you see Indo-Russian defense deals, if you talk about the current scenario, then it was in October 2018 where India inked the historic agreement with Russia to procure 5 S-400 Triumph surface-to-air missile defense system, which is considered to be the most powerful missile defense system in the world. Okay, so India has always been honored with Russia, and similarly Russia has also helped India on many such you also have Chakra 3 attack submarine 2025. Okay, you have INS Chakra, you have INS Vikramaditya, which has been sent to Russia, right? And Chakra 3 attack submarine 2025 is from Russia basically. Okay, so there are many such acts, there are many such agreements which have been signed and many such cooperating areas between India and Russia. Okay, now this brings me to the end of your second chapter, that is the end of bipolarity formally. Okay, as per your NCERT book. Now you have further things to study within chapter 2, okay, that I will be teaching you in the next class. Okay, thank you for this day, students. If you have any problem, let me know. Thank you, students.